So, dear Sangha, we will enjoy one sound of the bell. Dear Sangha, there was another question that I wanted to ask the children, but I forgot. But we've asked them that question in the past, so I think I know what the answer is already. And the question is, dear children, how can your parents make you happy? How do your parents make you feel happy? And I think you probably know what the answer is too. When my parents are happy together, then I am happy. And even the youngest children, they answer in that way. So we know that happiness is not an individual matter. The happiness of the parents is the happiness of the children. And so we have come to Plum Village, and we are learning ways how to be a happy couple. If you're not a couple, please enjoy listening. You may be a couple in the future. One time, Thai was interviewed by the Elle magazine, and at the end of the interview, the journalist asked, "Do you have some advice for our women readers?" Because it is a magazine for women. And Thai said, "Yes. One time, when your husband is come back from work and you have eaten your evening meal, and you have in those days we turn on the television. I don't know if what people do in the evening now, maybe they have other ways, but turn on the television and you say, darling, I wonder if you have a bit of time for me, and then maybe your partner answers, "Oh, okay, it's not such an important program, I can turn it off." That is what we call gallantry. And so you sit down together, and then in this case, because it was the Elle magazine, it could be the other way around. The woman asks, "Darling, are we a happy couple?" That is a koan. Are we a happy couple? And if not, why? Why not? So, in 1991 or 1992, Thai was leading a retreat in Italy, and there were many lawyers participating in the retreat. And Thai said to them, "Could you help put into words a peace treaty for when a couple become angry with each other?" And from that time on, from 1992, we have had a practice which is called the peace treaty. So we often really want that the nations could sign a peace treaty and stop fighting each other. But sometimes we forget that we are fighting each other in our family. And so Thai said the peace treaty will be very important in the future. And the future is now. So if you go on into the internet, I think you will easily find the peace treaty. And if you don't like going on the internet, please ask your facilitator of your Dharma sharing family, please may I have a copy of the peace treaty. So when you have a treaty, you need to sign it. So that is the aim, to be able to sign the peace treaty. But we should never sign the peace treaty until we are ready to sign it, because that is very damaging. If we sign a peace treaty and we don't practice what we signed, then we will feel very bad, and our partner will feel bad too. So the first thing is, when you have the copy of the peace treaty, is to read it and see, am I really ready to practice this? And if I see I'm not ready to practice it, then I will not sign it. And in Plum village, we used to have ceremonies for signing the peace treaty. But that is people who'd come to retreat, and they felt, I'm really ready, I can do this. And when one of the partner had pushed the button of the other partner, we see we didn't react. We followed our breathing. And so we know that we are on the way to being able to practice the peace treaty, and so we can sign it. And the way that we did was like this. We had a ceremony. We came and we lit the incense on the altar to invite the Buddha within us to be really there. And then there were a number of peace treaties on the altar. And the person, sometimes I would come up with one of my sisters. It wasn't always couples who came up. And one time, I see my sisters do this. They came up and we signed, both of us signed to agree to these principles, which I will talk about in a moment. And then we put the peace treaty back on the altar. And the next morning, before we left, we would pick up the peace treaty from the altar. Because by that time, our piece of paper had absorbed the energy of the meditation hall. So it had a special significance for us when we took it home to practice. So when you have this peace treaty, see what you could practice in it. And just concentrate on those points you think you could practice to start with. And then later on, you can concentrate on trying to make possible the other points. Now we listen to the sound of the bell. The first point is, when I am angry, I shall refrain from saying or doing anything that might cause further suffering or escalate the anger. You say something to me, it makes me angry. So I say something back to you to make you angry. And it goes into a spiral and escalates. When I am angry, the best thing I can say is, I am angry. I'm going outside and I'm going to practice mindful breathing and mindful walking. And then I take myself out. I don't look at the person who's making me angry. I don't listen to them. I just go outside and I practice walking. The second point is, I do not suppress my anger. I don't say things like, I'm not angry. I don't try and pretend that I'm not angry. I tell myself, I am suffering. That is the first thing I tell myself. I am suffering and I am angry. Either I'm angry because I suffer, or I suffer because I'm angry. The two things, they go together, the suffering and the anger. So I'm very clear with myself that I am angry. I don't try and suppress it. But now whatever I say will just make things worse. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to take care of myself. When the house is on fire, you have to put out the house, the fire. You have to put out the house fire. You don't run after the arsonist, asking, who is it that set my house on fire? So I go outside and I keep recognizing I am suffering. And when I recognize how much I suffer, I begin to feel compassion for myself. Yes, I'm angry and it makes me suffer. And I feel compassion. And then I continue to walk, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. And as I walk, I see the other person is also suffering. And because I have been able to feel compassion for myself, I have been able to feel compassion for the other person. They too suffer. So when I go back, when I feel really calm, I will go back and I will, if I am calm enough, I will come to my partner and I will say, this morning I was angry. I'm sorry. I don't want to get angry. It harms me and it harms you and it harms our children. Please, can we sit down and talk about it? Whenever you're ready, can we sit down and talk about it when you're ready? And if you don't feel that, you can calmly come to the other person and ask them, please, can we sit down and talk about it? Then you write a note, because in the Buddhist teachings, it says we should not go to sleep on our anger. Before we go to sleep, or in the next 24 hours, we need to let the other person know that we are angry. And once we let the other person know that we are angry, we feel a relief. That is what is meant by not suppressing your anger. Being able to let the other person know in a calm way. So that is the second point, not suppress your anger. The third point is practice walking, practice practice breathing and taking refuge in the island of myself. It is very painful to be angry. You really need to take care of yourself very well when you're angry. And Thai said that it's like taking care of your own baby who is crying. When you're angry, you're crying inside. And you need to come back and take care. So that is coming back to the island of yourself. You may see that island is not so beautiful because that myself is very angry. So it's not so pleasant to come back to. But that is the best thing to do, is to come back to oneself and to really feel what is going on inside. That is best thing for you, best thing for your partner, best thing for your children. Calmly, within 24 hours, let the one who has made me angry know about my anger and suffering, either verbally or in a note. So in a note you also have to write mindfully, dear, whatever the name is of the one you are angry with, this morning I have to admit I was very angry. I have taken care of my anger and I really want to be able to sit down so that we can talk about it. And after that you sign your name. Thai said you sign, yours not very happy at the moment. But in fact you can also put yours, I'm feeling better after writing this note. And then you make sure the other person sees it. If the other person doesn't see it, that is your responsibility. You must put the note in a place where they are sure to be able to see it. So not say, I am not angry, it's okay, I'm not suffering, there's nothing to be angry about, at least not enough to make me angry. So that is a kind of suppression of your anger. Pretend you're not angry. And then as the days pass, before you get a chance to sit down together and talk about it, both of you need to look deeply. Look deeply throughout the day when you're sitting, when you are walking, to ask yourself certain questions. What are the ways I have made the other person? No. What are the ways I have not been skillful enough? What are the ways I have not been skillful enough in our relationship? How I have hurt the other person because of my own habit energy. How the strong seed of anger in me is the primary cause of my anger. So that is a very important part. Normally, the first thing we think when we are angry is something has happened outside of me to make me angry. But if you think about it, Other people don't get angry when that happens. Only me that gets angry when that happens. So it is the strong seed of anger in myself which is the main cause. The main cause of my anger is the seed of anger in myself, not the other person. It is very important to see that before you sit down together. How the other person suffers also. It's not just me who suffers in our relationship. The other person suffers too. And the next thing you need to see is how the suffering of the other person waters the seed of anger in myself. The other person does something because they suffer. They speak in that way because they suffer. They act in that way because they suffer. And when they act like that, it triggers something in me and I become angry. But the real reason they do that thing is because they are suffering. And how the other person, when they do these things, they are seeking a relief from their suffering. And the last thing we have to look deeply into is to see that as long as the other person suffers, I suffer. Our children suffer. So these are all things that we can train ourselves in order to be ready to sign the peace treaty. And then the next part of the peace treaty is for the other side. So one side is the person who is angry, and the other side is the person with whom they are angry. Somebody is angry with you. You're not angry with them necessarily. What should you do when somebody is angry with you? So the first thing is that you respect the other person's feelings. You do not ridicule the other person. You do not say, oh, you get angry about a little thing like that? That's not worth getting angry about. That is what we avoid. We do not do that. We do not despise the fact that that person is angry. We respect their feelings. We give them space. The other important thing to avoid is pressing for an immediate discussion about the matter. So you think, this person is angry with me. I want to clear it up as quickly as possible. It's not pleasant having somebody angry with me. So let's sit down as quickly as possible and clear up this matter. But that is very dangerous because you're both very emotional and it'll be like a bomb. So do not force the other person to sit down and discuss what is going on for them. For as long as they are not calm, as long as you are not calm. That second point. The third point is that when the other person comes to you and says, I was very angry this morning, or leaves a peace note for you saying, I was very angry this morning, you must confirm it straight away. You must say, I have received your request and I am happy to sit down with you when you are ready. And the last point for when somebody is angry with you is to, oh, it's not the last point, sorry, the fourth point. Practice breathing and taking refuge in the island of yourself. When you are angry, you have to look deeply into certain things, like the seed of anger is the most important seed that has caused this problem. But when somebody is angry with you, you also have to look deeply before you sit down together. And you see the ways that you have tried to relieve your own suffering by making the other person suffer. When somebody makes you suffer, you, as a human being, we have this tendency, we think, I will suffer less if I make them suffer. They've made me suffer, I will make them suffer, I will feel better. That is a lie. It's not true. This doesn't happen like that. The suffering just escalates. So I look deeply and I see that by making the other person suffer, I make myself suffer. I am you and you are me. Isn't it wonderful that we are? When I can water the seed of happiness in you, it makes me happy. When I water the seed of suffering in you, it makes me suffer. And the fifth point, which is very important, apologize as soon as I realize my unskillfulness and lack of mindfulness, without making any attempt to justify myself. I got very angry this morning because you did this, you did that. Or because I didn't sleep enough last night. Well, that you can, it's not so bad, but we should not justify ourselves. We should say, this morning, I made you angry. I know I was not skillful, and that is why I watered the seed of anger in you. I was not mindful. I was not skillful. I will try and do better. And that is all you need to say. And the other person, when they hear those words, they immediately stop suffering. So we hear sort of the bell. When we have a chance to sit down together after we have had a row or we've had a quarrel or we've been angry with each other, maybe it'll be a few days later when we really feel calm and we've had time to look deeply at what happened. You already heard about beginning anew, so you know how you should proceed when you sit down together. The first thing you have to do is to water the flowers, to say what I appreciate in you, very concretely. Something you have done, something you have said. Recently, very concrete. And the second thing you have to do is talk about your own shortcomings. I get angry too easily. I really need to practice more. Something like that. And then the third thing you say is, what watered, although the seed of anger in me is the real cause, what watered the seed was when you said this or when you did this. My dear one, I would really like to ask, but it is not a demand. It's just an asking. If you could be very careful not to say that kind of thing, because it makes me feel jealous, or it makes me feel inferior, or and that is the third part. We ask for help. Before we were talking about in the last Dharma talk, you heard about the mantras. I am here for you, I know you are there, and it makes you very happy. So the fourth mantra is, I suffer, I need your help. Yeah, we're asking for help. We are humble in asking for help. And of course, once one of us has shared, the other one can share in the same way. Or the other one can just say, thank you so much for sharing. I've learned a lot. I will really try better. And for the moment, I don't want to share anything. Maybe in a few days' time, we can sit down again together and I can share some more. Many years ago, Thầy had a dream. This is a dream, a wish. And the wish was that we would have an institute for helping us make one person happy. So that one person is our partner, or our proposed partner. We are thinking, that person, I can make a long-term commitment with that person. And so Thầy said that those of us who are thinking about a long-term commitment, we might like to come and practice in the institute for making one person happy, my partner happy, my partner to be happy. And we stay there, I think, 3 months or something, if we can. It's very good. And we have 2 Hamlets for each partner not have to be in the same Hamlet. That is the reason we will have plenty of space to be able to look deeply into certain things. So these certain things that we need space to look into are in the 5 awarenesses. The 5 awarenesses are for couples to read on the full moon day in order to be able to deepen their understanding of each other. Because embarking on a long-term commitment is very beautiful, but it's also dangerous. It's like a sea voyage. You don't know whether the weather is going to be rough, or the sea will be rough, or the sea will be calm. You have to prepare yourself well for that. So the first thing that we look deeply into, both of us look deeply into, we are aware that all generations of our ancestors and all future generations are present in us. when I make a long-term commitment with someone, all my ancestors are in that relationship, and all your ancestors are in that relationship. And any future generations which come from that relationship, whether they are spiritual descendant or blood descendants, they are also already present in us now. All our ancestors are present in us. Am I really ready to make a long-term commitment with all those ancestors of my loved one? Is my loved one really ready to make a long-term commitment with all my ancestors? We need to understand our ancestors and the ancestors of our loved one. Ancestors can be our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our culture, our nation. We need to understand. It takes time. And so once we have embarked on our long-term commitment, we don't stop looking deeply. We don't stop looking into the ancestors of my loved one and my own ancestors. Do they get along well together? Can they sit at the same table together? All those ancestors. My mother, my father, they are in me. Did I have a happy childhood? Did my parents have a good relationship? Did they suppress their anger? Was my mother badly treated by my father? And did my mother have to suppress her anger? She had no chance to do beginning anew with my father. They didn't know about the practice, so she just had to be quiet and put up with all the unkindness of my father. And so that anger which has not been taken care of, what happened to it? Where has it gone? Maybe it's gone into me. Maybe I have received that suppressed anger. And now when I get angry, maybe it's my mother getting angry. It's not really me getting angry. It's my mother wanting to express all she could not express in her own relationship. So these are things we look deeply into. They may not always be very pleasant things to look into, but they will ensure that our voyage is we don't get shipwrecked in our voyage. And we are aware our future generations are in us. If my mother could not deal with her anger, she handed it on to me. Or my father could not deal with his anger, he handed it on to me. And if I can't deal with my anger, what will happen to it? I will hand it on to my children. And then they will have to suffer. The second point, we are aware of the expectations that our ancestors, our children, and their children have of us. Our ancestors wanted, they had a deep wish to live a wholesome and a beautiful life. But the causes and conditions that were present for living a beautiful and a wholesome life were not always there. And so they kept in them that aspiration for a beautiful life, but they were not always able to realize it in their own lifetime. So they have handed on to you, their descendants, that aspiration. And when we look deeply into that aspiration our ancestors had, and they were not able to realize, we see that now I have met the practice. Now I know how to breathe mindfully, to take care of my suffering, to generate my happiness. I can do something that they could not do. They were so occupied with having to make a living so that their children could carry on. They did not have the time, they did not have the opportunity to meet the practice. Our children, of course, also have expectations of us. Just like I said, when you ask the children what can your parents do to make you happy? And they don't say, oh, if they could buy me a motorbike, or they could buy me this or buy me that. That is not, we never hear an answer like that. They make me happy by being happy together themselves. We are aware that our joy, peace, freedom, and harmony are the joy, peace, freedom, and harmony of our ancestors, our children, and their children. That is something that when we have a ceremony for the deceased and someone in our family has passed away, we always say the peace and joy of the children is the peace and joy of the grandparents, the great-grandparents. Because just like the bean continued the bean seed, we continue the seed of our grandparents, and they are in us. So our joy and peace is their joy and their peace. Sometimes people come to Plum Village and they stay and they think, oh, this place is so beautiful. People are so kind to each other. And out in the world, people are not kind to each other like that. So is Plum Village real? Is Plum Village real life? Or is the outside world real life? It's like the Minotaur, is real or not real? Is Plum Village real or not real? And sometimes we might choose that, for me, Plum Village is real. Outside world may be less real. And for you, you might say, outside world is real. Plum Village is not real. It's just a utopia, a place where everybody is kind to everybody. So how can we do to bring Plum Village back home? So that the real and the unreal, they interconnect. Don't say that Plum Village is not real. Our love for each other is very real. Our mindfulness is very real. And when we dwell in the present moment, we touch the present moment with our breathing and with our feet, we are very alive, we are very real. And when you follow a routine, going to work every day, coming home, turning on the television or whatever, your computer, going to bed, waking up, eating, going to work, maybe you're in a dream. It's not real. So you need your local sangha in order to touch the reality of mindfulness and remind you to practice mindfulness in your daily life. If you live a life without mindfulness, you will become a prey to stress. And stress is so dangerous for your health, dangerous for your family. So you really need to bring Plum Village into your workplace. When you leave your car in the parking lot or you get off the bus to walk into your workplace, make that a walking meditation path. Every day you walk that path with mindfulness. Whenever you can, listen to the beep on your watch and stop and breathe, even if it's only 1 or 2 in-breath and out-breath. Especially when you've been through a stressful moment. Recognize, I've been through a stressful moment, and de-stress yourself by getting in touch with the parasympathetic nerve system, relaxing all the muscles in your body with a half smile. Closing your eyes and breathe is very important. Bring Plum Village back home. Please, please do that. We rely on you to do that. We are aware, this is the 4th point, we are aware that understanding is the very foundation of love. Sometimes we keep saying, I love you, I love you. But if you have not understood that person, is your love beneficial for them? One time there was a mother who as a child had loved the color red, and she always wanted to wear a red dress. But her mother said to her, if you wear red, you will attract people's attention to you, so you should not wear red. And she never had the chance to wear red as a child. When she herself married and had her own children, she imagined, she loved her children, she loved her daughter, that her daughter would always want to wear red. And so she made her daughter wear red, buy red clothes, wear red. Her daughter didn't like the color red. But her mother didn't understand. She thought, because I always wanted red, my daughter will want red. So if we don't understand someone, our love can be very damaging. And sometimes understanding someone is not easy. When someone has had a difficult childhood, and they may have been adopted or had another kind of difficult childhood, that is a lot of suffering is in that. And if their life goes a little bit astray, then that may be because of the suffering that they've been through. And if when their life goes astray, we feel angry with them, we feel irritated with them, it's because we love them and we want them to be like us. But we have not understood. We have not understood the suffering that they've been through. And when we understand the suffering, we feel compassion. And when we feel compassion, which comes from understanding, then that love is real. And it can take a long time to learn how to understand someone. And even the people you work with, who may seem to you to be difficult, they may have a lot of suffering. So the way you look at them shows them that you see that they are a difficult person. You want to look at them in a way that shows them that you understand them. And so you need to ask a few questions sometimes. Did you sleep well last night? No, I have a lot of problems with sleeping. There already you begin to understand them a little bit more. We are aware, the fifth awareness, that blaming and arguing can never help us and only create a wider gap between us. That only understanding, trust, and love can help us change and grow. Yesterday in a Dharma sharing family, one elderly, maybe a bit younger than me, but getting on to my age, shared very nicely. She said, I have been married for 40 years. The first 20 years we spent most of our time quarreling. And the last 20 years have been years of great happiness. Because we know how to, I understand this, because we know how to practice. We have learnt to understand each other. So it takes time. That is why we want to have a lifelong commitment. We take time to change and to grow. You're like a bean plant. Your loved one is like a bean plant. If this plant, for some reason, it wilts, then I will not say, you are a bad plant. I will say, what have I done so that you are not growing well? You need more sunshine, you need more earth, you need more water? Or do I need to bine, what is that? I need to cultivate the earth around you some more? Yeah. When I first came to Plum Village, Thai was living in the stone house in the top story, where he had a room. And if we want a consultation, we can go into his room. And so Thai would sit there, and then I would sit opposite Thai, a little bit opposite. And then when the consultation was finished, Thai said, look behind you. And what did I see? I saw a drawing of a lettuce. A lettuce. And Thai said that when I give a consultation, I look at the person, but I also look at the picture of the lettuce. Because I know if the lettuce is not doing well, then I have to do something to help the lettuce do better. I don't blame the lettuce. So that is Thai's great compassion for his disciples. Yeah, I think that's enough for today. Please, I'm so happy that you have received the 5 mindfulness trainings. They go along very well with the 5 awarenesses and the peace treaty. They support each other. The mindfulness trainings and the peace treaty support each other. Find a local sangha. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of your lettuces. And come back whenever you need to. Whenever your batteries get a bit low. We are always here for you. And if you have some difficulty, you need to communicate with us by email or some other message, please do so. Now we enjoy the 3 sounds of the bell.